Okay, welcome again. Now I've got something arrived in the mail, some cool hardware. This is more DTF UHF stuff. Well, this one's made in China by a bloke who's been relabeling the OpenLRS stuff with his Hawkeye brand, which is, I don't know, that's pretty cool. But it's preloaded with OpenLRSng firmware. Now this is the 6-channel deluxe receiver that Carl designed, and apparently in here it's got a there's a low pass filter in there that's already built in, so you don't need to put that big stodging low pass filter on if you're doing FPV work. And it is 6-channel as well, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's on one end there, and then you've got another 2 here, and you can actually reconfigure it so you can use the TX and RX pins for additional 2 channels. So there's potential to make this 6-channel if you want, if you so desired. SCL and SDA, that's the I2C communications protocol. As I mentioned earlier, maybe at a later date we'll get be able to have diversity receivers with these by just hooking up 2 and having the other one auto detect whether it's a slave receiver or not. But that's still being worked on sometime in the future. And then on the other side you've got PPM input, PPM output, so if you want to output that into a multi-rotor controller or something like that, and an RSSI. But all these are configurable in software. So really the labeling, it should be, because of the configuration software, the labeling here should be port 1, port 2, port 3 and port 4 and so on.
Did you turn Marcus' footing off?
No. Okay, one small problem with this I can see, it's not anything to do with the design or anything, because that is spot on, but the labeling, he's labelled it channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. I guess so. Yeah, that's fine. That's what it's set up as stock firmware, but in the firmware it's port 1, 2, 3, 4, which is, slightly different. I'm being a little bit picky with that, but when you look at the configuration software, it says ports rather than channels and stuff. But still, it's really nice little packaging. I like the fact that I don't have to flash this and I don't have to pull it out or anything like that. I'm sure it'll work out of the box. I'm pretty sure. If it doesn't, I'll let people know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to work. And I'm going to plop that into the glider that I want to fly pretty soon. It's very nice and slimline. You've got your antenna there as well. So this does not come with an antenna, so you need to either have an antenna or build one yourself. Don't operate these without the antenna. Goes without saying. And all right, one last little niggly issue I've got with this receiver is these pins. They're a little bit too short. If we compare it to an FrSky receiver, you can see there, I don't know if we can see the difference. The FrSky ones, they're a couple of millimeters longer than these ones, and when you're hooking up a servo, or your power for that matter, or your ESC or whatever, I've got this around the wrong way, but for demo purposes, you can see that up to that point it doesn't even grab. So then it's only grabbing the past last couple of millimeters, and it's not particularly secure either. So ideally these pins should be about 3 or 4 millimeters longer. It doesn't matter if they're a bit too long, if it sticks out like this when it's done, but I tried to save a couple of cents on the bill of materials just putting short pins on, and really that's not good enough. I'm going to have to dab a bit of hot glue on there, or just be really careful with these. And I also found if you do get one of these, they're still a very good receiver, but the heat shrink, I had to cut that away because that reduced how much effective pin length I had even more. So the heat shrink sort of overlapped a bit. I've already cut this away, but you just need to get a sharp knife and cut it away. I was also sent this little baby. the Deluxe TX transmitter, and this is quite a, it looks big here, I'm on a macro lens, but you know, she's still pretty small and she's in a nice metal case. I've got a button, a bind failsafe button, a nice USB plug there. I presume this has got the FTDI on board, so easy to program, just plug it in via straight into your computer and away you go. So no need to muck around with little programming boards and stuff like that. And antenna plug there, great. And then on the bottom there's again, we've got our I2C port, which, you know, it's nice that that's there. That's not actually been implemented yet with anything. Serial communication, so you can hook that up to your Tyrannus or your modded FR Sky modded 9X or 9XR, so you can get telemetry, and then you've got your PPM input, battery and ground, and it says there 2 to 3 cell LiPo. Whatever you do, don't get these around the wrong way because they will die. I'm pretty sure, I think this was Kari's design originally. Right, now let's take it apart. Let's see if I can change my focal length a bit here. Yeah, I haven't even fired this up and I'm pulling it apart. But I've got to see what's in here. Now this is a 1 watt system. It's 1 watt, so really I don't think it's necessary at all, because 100 milliwatts, I think the performance is well good enough, unless you're really trying to go extreme range. And if you're first time FPVer and you buy one of these, you're a bit of a dickhead, really, because you don't need that much range. You don't even need 100 milliwatt amount of range, although it's nice to have, but this is just kind of ridiculous. You know, each their own. I prefer, you know, you're better off just designing yourself a good antenna. So, all right, so she's not coming out quite yet. I'm going to take these other screws off. And also, if you're going to use 1 watt, typically you should have an amateur radio license. If you read into it and these are configured correctly, yeah, you could argue the point that you don't need an amateur radio license, but you know, if you've got that good of understanding, you might as well get your license anyway. They're not hard to get. All right, let's have a look. So there's our 1 watt module. It's an RFM 23BP module, and we've got a buzzer on board there, version 1.5. Cool. What else we got? And underneath there, let's just zoom in a bit more. Let's just brighten that up. I cannot see that. Is it an AT Mega 328? AT Mega 30. It should be an AT Mega 328. You'll probably be able to see that better than me. No, sorry, that's a 32U4. That's the Leonardo version. So basically this is sort of, you could argue the point that this is Arduino Leonardo compatible, and hence there's no FTDI, and that has its own USB controller on board, so that's why I've got our USB port there. Very nice. So that's kind of cool. You know, like I said, I think the 1 watt is a bit unnecessary. You know, it is nice to have, but if you're running a telemetry link, you know, your telemetry link is always going to be 100 milliwatts, unless you have one of these babies in your aeroplane as well, but then, you know, you're radiating all sorts of noise from altitude, and then you'd really get, you know, you really got more of a chance of getting into trouble. That's a 3-color LED there. You can see that, and there's a filter there. See that little puppy there? Very nice. So that's our low pass filter. And button, it's pretty well made too. I think it's pretty good. This is your header if you need to reprogram it if for any reason the bootloader gives up. This is your IS in system ICSP programmer. Sorry, I can't think of exactly what that stands for. And that little baby there looks like some sort of voltage regulator. Perhaps that's a switching regulator? Yes. So we've got an inductor there, so that's a switching regulator as well, which makes this very efficient. You know, if it's going to pull 1 watt, it doesn't want to be, you know, stepping down from 12 volts down to 5 volts and bleeding off that 7 volts as heat in a linear regulator. So there you go. That's the first one I've seen one of these 1 watt modules. Pretty big looking things, but it looks very nicely made. He's even got, you know, his little logo stamped on there. So very cool. So time will tell. You know, I don't have the space to do a range test with this baby, but you know, we can assume that, you know, if you're using one of these, you're going to have all the range you will ever need. Cheers. There you go. They're just first looks. You know, the performance is going to be the same. You know, as long as you put that OpenLRSng firmware on, you know, basically these things, they either work or they don't. The performance goes with these little babies here, and you may get less interference with your FPV gear because these ones have got the filters on board. So there you go. They're very nice. I think, don't know the prices off the top of my head, $80 or something. I will disclose I was sent these for nothing, so show them off. But you know, much appreciated. Cheers, and that's what keeps this YouTube channel going. So yeah, I'll have links in the description to where you can get these little babies. So cheers.